at my website. If you don't have a clue what I'm talking about, go to my website, thelibertyman.com. Educate yourself about these marvelous healing devices. We focus on pain mitigation and getting a great night's sleep. Arthritis pain, joint pain, back pain, doesn't matter. Keep in mind, I offer for me to you personally a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's what I do. Energy Cleanser is $285, shipping included to American zip codes. You can educate yourself all about the Energy Cleaner right there at my website, the patent and the wonderful testimonials. Be sure and check out the factory-made fitted mattress pads to go with the Energy Cleaner. Now, I offer for me to you personally a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's what I do. I have a toll-free order line, or you can order it right at my website at thelibertyman.com. The toll-free order line is 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. Thank you.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. It is Monday, October 29th, 2018, start of a brand new week here. And we have got a lot of stuff to talk about today. And the phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Mike is in our control room, ready to answer the phone, put you on the air with your comments and questions. And obviously the big news over the weekend here, this horrible, tragic shooting in Pittsburgh at the Tree of Life Synagogue, which left 11 people dead. The shooter is in custody. And apparently there would have been more victims, but they were able to hide in pitch black rooms where the shooter couldn't see them. And like everything else that happens in the media, it's already being exploited for political gain by everybody on all these different sides. And it's shameless. There's no other way to describe this other than it is a tragedy. But already we're hearing members of Netanyahu's Likud party blaming the victims, saying that it was these members of the synagogue that were inciting anti-Jewish feeling in the United States. Which is nonsense. Now, I'm looking at the story that's come on out from Information Clearinghouse, and they're out there describing the shooter, Robert Bowers, as a right-wing terrorist and was a Trump supporter. Now, that's absolutely false. Robert Bowers, if you went over to his Gab feed, which you can't get to anymore because Gab got shut down, he was clearly anti-Trump because of Donald Trump's absolute support for all things Israel. So they're already out there. I mean, the funerals haven't even started yet, and everybody's out there. How can we use this? How can we use this? We've got the midterms. We've got another opportunity. And of course, this has now driven the phony bomb scare story completely off the media. It's totally, it was an epic fail of propaganda, and now they've got a new story so they don't have to report on their embarrassment. Over in Great Britain, Baroness Jenny Tonge claimed Israel was to blame for a resurgence in anti-Jewish hatred. And in this case, I do agree with her. It is the actions of Israel's government that is leading to opposition to Israel's government, which Israel's government insists is anti-Semitism, which it isn't. That's like saying that the only reason people ever complain about the Nazis is they hate the German people here. And the Baroness predicted that she was going to be accused of anti-Semitism, which, yes, that did indeed happen. It was a huge backlash. How dare you? How dare you say that Israel is ever doing anything bad? It just doesn't work that way. The Washington Post tried to say that this was all Donald Trump's fault. And Sarah Huckabee Sanders blasted the Washington Post saying, that's utterly ridiculous. You know, Trump is an unapologetic defender of the Jewish community and the state of Israel. which I'm not happy about, but it's an accurate description. And to try and say Trump had anything at all to do with this is ridiculous. And for a supposed credible newspaper like the Washington Post to make that comment, that's just flat out propaganda. And I mean, what's the rationale here? Well, of course, right now everybody's out there saying, well, it's because, we have not had a gun ban here, and Trump is to blame for the synagogue shooting because he won't go along with banning guns. Well, again, in this day and age, banning guns only disarms the law-abiding citizen. And frankly, had there been somebody in that synagogue who was carrying, there might have been only one death. So the Democrats are out there campaigning on saying, vote for us in the midterms. We will take away the guns and you'll be safe in your places of worship here. And of course, their poster boy, David Hogg, is out there screaming about the National Rifle Association and how the blood of these poor people at the synagogue is on their hands. And following his tweet out there, a whole bunch of Hollywood celebrities have come on out to heap blame on President Donald Trump and all of his supporters and the lawful gun owners who haven't shot anybody. So they're really pushing the gun grabber agenda on this. All right, let's take a phone call here. Mark in North Carolina. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. Really, I'm angry. I'm not going to use bad words, but I'm telling you, I have to refrain. Okay, first of all, what you just saying with the guns now. Tell that little nerd there, Hogg, to tell that to those Russians who were murdered there indiscriminately at that college there in Crimea. Tell it to those people who were murdered and the others who were wounded over there. Tell them about, if they had some armed people there, they might have stopped this creep right off the bat. Now, as far as this guy goes, this is what always makes me wonder whether there's something more to it than this. Like another false, like the vets put the guy up to it somehow, maybe MK Ultra or something. Because right away, they're not only going after the guns, but they're going after something like Gab, which is a hope for us as far as free speech goes. So they are attacking viciously the First and the Second Amendment, and that's what they really want. They want the First and the Second Amendment out of the way. Then they can really have the dictatorship, the New World Order, run by globalist billionaires and other type of elitists that they really want, and they can enslave the rest of us. They need to go after the First and the Second Amendment. They need to go after the United States. They need to destroy this country completely take it over, and turn it into a globalist state actually doing the work for the New World Order. And they also have to go after Russia, which is the only other country that seems to really be standing up against this New World Order. Of course, like I just said, I wish Putin would bring a kind of a Second Amendment to Russia also. But besides that, this is all they're trying to do. They are destructive, they're evil, and people have to understand this. This Nazi, he probably was a Nazi, but he very likely could be an MKL. I haven't got a chance to really look into this guy's past enough yet. They're really not bringing out much, but I suspect hanky-panky. I really do, because it comes right after this thing with what was obviously phony. The what do you call it? Those phony bombings there.
Yeah.
I mean,
the
this
phony
so
bombs.
phony. I mean, like a $3 bill. Yeah. Remember, this guy had all this information about where all these people live. You don't just get that kind of information and stuff like that. These people are pretty much have their identities hidden, where they're living and all that. You don't just find that stuff out like that. He had to have help getting that information. I mean, the guy he was definitely a loser and a psychopath. So how did he get that information?
He's even
Somebody
low
tell me
IQ. He
about
doesn't
that.
have a high
This is
IQ.
all
I mean,
phony.
if you look at his writings on his
Right.
Twitter page, spelling mistakes, grammar errors, this is. I'm sorry, the guy was a moron, but he'd been through a bankruptcy,
And
and
yet
he
he
seems
gets all this
ideal for recruitment.
Yeah, and yet he gets all this information. You tell me how.
Yeah,
Okay?
exactly.
He got this information because the feds gave it to him. The FBI, the CIA. I'm tired of people saying, "Oh, they're really good people." No, they're not good people. I don't say everybody who works for the FBI is bad, but there's a lot of them that work for the FBI that really is they're not kept in the loop. They're basically kept as low-ranking agents. They won't go anywhere near the top. The same thing with the CIA. Okay, and if they open their mouths too much, they'll wind up in jail themselves. Like Kuriaki, the CIA guy there, Teriyaki, went to jail for talking about the torture chambers and all that. And meanwhile, the people who do cooperate and are part of the globalist New World Order, they're the ones that keep getting ahead. You saw it with Stroop. You see it with Bloody Gina there, who's now the head of the CIA. You see it with a lot of them. Okay, you see it in the Justice Department, the DOJ, like with Rosenstein, who Trump was, for whatever reason, afraid to fire. You see it with everything, and then you get a dummy like Sessions, who's basically just there like just like a stooge. They put him in there like a stooge, knowing he wasn't going to do anything. I don't know if he's compromised himself, and when you look at the Congress and everything like that, how many of them are really pedophiles that have something to hide, have been compromised somewhere along the line. I don't know, but this is what's going on, Mike. I just don't know what we can do about it. Okay, they're willing to give up, and people. Let me say something else. People who are willing to give up our vaunted Constitution. The one thing that does, by the way, make America exceptional is our Constitution. That's the only thing that is exceptional is the Constitution of this country. There's as far as I know, no other nation has a Constitution like this. And people are willing to give up. And I think, by the way, the most important parts of the Bill of Rights are the First Amendment, freedom of speech, Second Amendment, right to bear arms, and the Fourth Amendment, the right to privacy. They're all important, but those are, to me, the three most important. And this is.
I would add into that list the Fifth Amendment, which is the right against self-incrimination.
Oh yeah, it's very important. But I mean, these three stick out right off the bat. I mean, these three stick out. So this is what they're really going after, especially right now. The First and the Second Amendment. It's under attack. Fox News, by the way, is the biggest. As much as I despise CNN and MSNBC, I expect what comes out of their mouths. But what Fox News did to Lou Dobbs is another thing I wanted to say. What they did to Lou Dobbs, I'm sure you heard of it, right? He was interviewing a guy from Judicial Watch, and they mentioned Soros, that Soros is responsible for this caravan, and they cut him off. They eliminated that part of the show, and I think they threatened to fire Dobbs for this. And they banned that guy from Judicial Watch for good. Okay, saying that because he attacked Soros, he's anti-Semitic. I mean, are they kidding me? And then it's the same thing as saying if you attack Obama, that means you're a racist. So you attack a criminal like Soros, a man who should be in prison, a Nazi collaborator, actually, like Soros, by his own admission on that 60 Minutes show. I just posted it again onto my Facebook and Twitter. Okay, a guy like this, and they say because you're attacking him that makes you anti-Semitic. People need to stop watching Fox. Really, we need to boycott them. We need to pray. They'll either get a line. One American news network understands a lot better. I'm going to see if I can get it. I'm thinking of getting rid of my entire cable because it's not worth it. I'm paying $165 a month. It's way too much, and I'm not getting anything for it. So that's about all I got to say, Mike. I called you. I'm not even listening to you right now because I'm calling you from the car. I'm on my way home. As soon as I get home, I'm going to turn you on. I'm going to turn your show on. Okay?
All right. Well, so, thank you for the call. Please drive safely, okay? I mean, I understand you wanted to get onto the air and everything, but please drive safely. And I don't know where you.
I got Bluetooth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, all right. Handheld. It's a Bluetooth.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you for the phone call. And we're going to let you go here. We're going to do a shout out to our honor affiliates who are just now rejoining our network. And yeah, I mean, the corporate media, even Fox News, they're all coming under complete totalitarian control. And with this incident with Lou Dobbs and Judicial Watch, it's a perfect illustration. You know, if you say anything bad about George Soros, oh, you're out of there. You are out of there. report on fashion shows or cheerleaders or something like that, and you'll be safe here. Okay, let's take another phone call from Jim in Chicago. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Michael. What's going on in America today is not America that I once loved and I once knew. And back in the 60s and 70s when I was growing up, people wanted to come together. And it seems like people are so angry, so divided, and so hateful. And like Rodney King once stated back in the 1990s, can't we just all get along? I mean, what's going to happen next? And I know you heard about the shooting down in Alabama at the McDonald's where this guy had a gun, and fortunately he was able to shoot that guy that came in with a rifle and start shooting up the place.
Yep.
So it seems like every single day something is happening. But again, I'm really disgusted. I'm angry. I don't trust any politicians. The religious leaders are not doing their job. They're just as hateful as other individuals. So I don't know what to say. If I was a multimillionaire, I would leave the country, but where would I go? Unfortunately, where would I go? Because it seems like this is happening all over the world.
Yeah, I was having that exact discussion with Claire the other day when we were saying, we'd love to get out of the U.S., but where would we go where the exact same stuff would not be happening? And, plus at our age, no other country is going to take us in anyway. But I think the reality is that a lot of this stuff, like predatory priests and corrupt politicians, it's actually been going on all along. And in the age before the internet and the independent media, they got away with it because corporate media was under their control, and the human population, the general population, was living in a real-world version of the Matrix where everything's okay, and you go to work, and you pay your taxes, and, you go to nightclubs at night, and everything's just fine. And now we're beginning to learn the true nature of people who are in positions of authority, whether it's political or religious, and they're not happy about it at all.
I would agree with you very much. So, Michael, I'm going to let you go, but just make sure you tell people about the McDonald's shooting over the weekend, because the corporate media is not really talking about it.
Could you send me a URL about that? And by the way, the corporate media never reports a mass shooting that gets successfully stopped by a law-abiding gun owner. It's always buried somewhere deep inside, and it's never on the TV news. The corporate TV media, they're out there ready to report any kind of a mass shooting with a gun where the shooter succeeds in killing a lot of people. But when law-abiding citizens are able to defend themselves with a legally owned firearm, nope, we're not going to put that on the air. It's going to give people uppity ideas.
Well, what happened briefly, this father and son were having their lunch at McDonald's, and this guy comes in with a rifle and starts shooting up the place. And the father, fortunately, he had a gun with him, and he was able to shoot and kill the shooter. That's what happened. And I will send you some information regarding that. But the corporate media is not talking about it.
No, and they never will. They never will.
Right. All right, Michael, you take care. God bless.
All right, thanks an awful lot. And we're going to switch over to Dustin in New Jersey. And Dustin, I'm probably going to have to take you through the commercial break. What's on your mind?
I bet you they'd be talking about Assad gets his own people. Assad gets his own people. Or Putin's evil. Putin, they'd be talking about that. Mark, I've been telling you this. Everybody and you, Mike's been telling you. Fox News is just another side of the same coin. It's a different tribe, but against the Democrats, Republicans, up, down, left, right. It's all part of the same group of people. They're just in a battle for, power. But they're all liars. Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, it's all part of the same group. It's a mess. I mean, this country's effed up. I mean, it's just, and the West is effed up.
Yeah.
To say the least, because they got the same problems in Europe.
Yeah.
I don't even want to talk about. Hey, Mike, I was, with that shooting, I flipped in through YouTube when the shooting happened at the synagogue, and on MSNBC, let alone Chuck Todd saying it could be a Russian operation. Did you hear about that one? He actually said it might be the Russians before it came out with the gunman. But they had this former FBI guy on. He was like he's a regular on there, you know, a stage prop or whatever. But you know what he said? He goes, you know, he brought up right wing or Nazi or this, that. But you know what was my head spinner? He goes, and these other conspiracies like international bankers and the Rothschilds. He actually said that. I'm like, my head spun around like, holy crap. He's right, though. This whole war thing and all this crap going on about international bankers and the Rothschild mentality.
Yep.
If you think about it, right? I mean, but that blew my mind when he said that. You know, I'm like, because, you know, I never really heard any of them bring up the Rothschilds. You know what I mean? On, like, what'd that have to do with the shooting? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll hold for the break.
All right. We'll be right back after these words from our sponsors.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Attention RBN listeners. Dr. Ignatius Piazza, founder of Front Sight Firearms Training, and Fate have come together to allow RBN to run another fundraiser till the end of the year. We didn't really expect this opportunity, but thankfully it's here and running as you hear this. We've set a goal of 500 donations by the end of the year, which averages around 6 per day, 7 days a week. When you realize all the folks listening to RBN all hours of the day and night, we think our goal is realistic and extremely critical to keep RBN on the air. If everybody listening will seriously assess their ability with firearms and then take advantage of this opportunity, we feel our goal is very conservative. Please take the time to look over Front Sight's website to get an idea of an amazing facility and the world-class training that's going on there. If this interests you, you likely will have like-minded friends that would like to know. Tell them. If for some reason some listeners are not personally interested, consider sons and daughters, close friends, nieces or nephews, top valued employees, inform club members, share the opportunity with police and fire departments. It's not too early to plan Christmas presents for special people. This fundraiser has come at an extremely critical time for RBN because the dire need for equipment upgrades. We're running on the spare tire currently with no money to fix a flat, and the fuel gauge is bouncing on E. This is one of the most valuable ways you can help RBN financially because you get Commander lifetime membership value that is 50 times your donation and can be passed on forever. How many times during life do you get to leave a legacy? See more details and contact info on our webpage, republicbroadcasting.org, and thank you.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And we're talking with Dustin in New Jersey. And we're talking about basically the general state, not just of our country and not just of Europe, but the world as a whole, and how it seems like civilization is in the process of decaying right before our very eyes. Dustin?
Like toward the end. Yeah, Mike?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes, you're there.
Did this happen to Rome? Yeah, Mike, did this happen to Rome toward the end? Like this, like, I mean, I don't know if the shooting was like a setup or not, but we do have a lot of violence in this country, and it's getting worse. And it's from it's just not from one side, it's just from everything. And then in the West in general, like you said, it's a declining world empire basically before our eyes, you know. But I'm just curious, did Rome have this problem like toward the end of like their, you know, reign in the world, you know, like this violence?
Oh, there was a lot of violence. There was a lot of poverty. And of course, it was the age of the emperors who were just a little bit whacked out, probably because they were drinking a lot of alcohol out of lead drinking vessels and didn't realize you're not supposed to do that. I mean, you had like Nero and Caligula, but even setting aside the mental deterioration, you could see the signs of decay all over the Roman Empire. And it began in the outer provinces and just sort of worked its way in until it took Rome apart. It broke into the East and West empires, and then the the Western Empire collapsed.
Yeah, Mike, I'm going to switch gears on Angela Merkel, how she became her own worst enemy.
Yes.
And her parties were, you know, like on the declining in Germany because of the refugees and other problems. And remember, Germany is the country that's keeping like the European Union up, basically, right?
Yep.
I mean, without Germany's like manufacturing machine, you know, the EU would be gone, pretty much. Would you say that? Like if Germany just pulled out of the EU or
Oh, yeah. I mean, Britain and Germany were basically holding the whole EU up economically. That's why Brussels is in a panic over Brexit. And there is a growing movement in Germany to get out of the European Union as well. And I think the results of the recent elections indicate that it's quite strong and growing.
And then I'm going to switch gears one more time because I think this is the most important topic. Nobody's covering on the news anywhere except for here is Trump pulling out of the INF treaty. And did you see what Putin told Bolton? He goes, the seal of America with the eagle has 13 arrows on one side and a olive branch on the other. And the eagle ate all the olives.
Yes.
Which means all this country's got left is arrows. They know war is coming.
Yes.
He told Bolton that. Like, all you have left is out. That basically means the United States is militaristic. It's coming for Russia.
Yeah.
You know.
And
it's
they're
just
going
a
to
matter
lose.
of time. So, yeah. yeah. Let me tell you, China and Russia, you're not going to beat them. I don't even think we can beat Russia because we might have, like, a big Navy, but, you know, without our aircraft carriers, it's about even there now. You know what I mean? And then you be coming on Russia's territory. Good luck with that. You know, you think Napoleon and Hitler would learn their lesson. I don't care how much we train in the Arctic or in the cold condition. It don't matter. They're used to that weather. You can train all you want, but you're not born into that weather. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Different scenario. And the German war machine found out about that the hard way. All right, have a good show, Mike.
All right, thanks an awful lot. Yeah, the reality is that the United States does not have the manpower and equipment to physically invade and take over either Russia or China, let alone both. And so I guess the United States is going to rely on their high-tech wonder weapons to beat these countries into submission, which I don't think is likely to happen. Was sort of the strategic mistake the Nazis made toward the end of World War II. When I mean, let's face it. After their retreat from Moscow, Germany's army had been all but crippled, and so the Nazis shifted over to developing these wonder weapons with which they could, you know, fight a different kind of war. They'd started out with the Blitzkrieg, the mechanized war, which was a brand new thing, and they did very well with it at first until they ran into that Russian winter. And then they moved on to developing the V-1 Buzz Bomb, which was the world's first cruise missile, and the V-2 ballistic missile, which was the world's first ballistic missile. And they developed a lot of interesting things, including apparently the world's first stealth fighter, because the Nazis understood that Britain's radar system was the reason they lost the Battle of Britain. But ultimately, they poured all this money into the wonder weapons, and they lost the war. We're going to take another break for commercials, and we will be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
This is too good to be true, except this time it is real. 100%. No joke. How about a $25,000 membership to Front Sight Firearms Training Facility as a thank you bonus for a one-time donation to RBN of only $500? It is a Commander lifetime membership with no yearly fees or dues. The training is free for the rest of your life with over 50 different classes. Then leave it to your designated beneficiary. You provide the approved firearm, holster, ammo, eye, and ear protection. Many features and bonuses are included, more than you would ever expect or believe. This is the ultimate graduation present, wedding gift, etc., etc. See the details. Go to RBN's webpage and frontsight.com to make it happen. You will hear this offer only on this radio network. Help keep RBN alive. Tell 5.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more, plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AROutfitting.com.
We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and
And aloha, America, and welcome back to our show here. So we're talking about this horrible tragedy at the Tree of Life Synagogue. And yeah, the timing does seem rather convenient for a lot of people. It did drive the phony bombs story off the news cycle. It allows the Democrats to campaign on the gun grabber agenda. It's, again, distracting the corporate media from the migrant horde, which is approaching our border, which the Democrats don't want voters thinking about as well. And, of course, Israel is using this as political cover while they basically go back into Gaza and bomb the heck out of the place. So, down at Tennessee, there was a rally for the GOP senatorial candidate, Representative Marsha Blackburn, and she declared a moment of silence for the victims of the shooting at the Pittsburgh synagogue. And apparently this was too much for some leftist protesters who stood up during the moment of silence to scream, "Marsha Blackburn is a white supremacist." And they made such a ruckus that ultimately 5 of them were forcibly removed from the rally. Anyway, Donald Trump is saying he wants to go to Pittsburgh. He wants to express his condolences, which I think would be a good thing for him to do. But Jewish leaders are saying Trump is not welcome in Pittsburgh until he denounces white nationalism. And they're accusing Donald Trump of spreading lies and fear about these migrant families in Central America. So everybody is just exploiting this for political gain. They want Trump to get off the nationalism and open the borders. Meanwhile, apparently a group of Muslims set up a crowdfunding account on launchgood.com. The title was Muslims Unite for Pittsburgh Synagogue, and so far they have raised $111,000 for the families of the victims. Hamas has expressed its condolences, at which point Israel came on out and attacked Hamas, saying, you're just trying to look good here. It's amazing. Now, obviously, these deaths are a tragedy. And they should be remembered. My concern here are the tragedies taking place in Syria and Yemen, which are promptly forgotten. And I'm wondering why in our corporate media these Syrian and Yemeni lives are deemed as somehow less worthy of remembrance than those in Pittsburgh. I think that is a legitimate question here. Now, getting on back to the phony bombs, the Democrats are trying to bring that one back. Even though people understand that the bombs are phony. In fact, yesterday I took Claire to her church, and I was talking to people around there. Everybody knew that those bombs were fake. Everybody picked up on the little clock. They picked up on the fact the clock didn't have an alarm. They picked up on the fact there wasn't a battery. So it's a disaster of a PR stunt. But somebody is still trying to get it out there. And apparently, over at CNN, which is still struggling to attract attention, they're claiming there was a new suspicious package addressed to CNN, discovered at the Atlanta Post office. And the bomb squads of both the FBI and Atlanta police have rushed to the scene. And the piece of mail was safely removed. And they're saying, yes, it bears similarities to the other packages that were mailed. Now, the accused bomber is in prison. And because these packages somehow get sent without a postmark, we don't know when this one made its way into the postal system. So whether or not it's a copycat or a package that just got delayed in the mail, we don't know. One thing we do know for a fact is that FBI Director Christopher Wray is just as dishonest as former FBI Director James Comey. And Ray is out there trying to convince the world that even though these bombs all look like movie props or TV show props, and rather badly done ones, I would have to add, coming out of my years in Hollywood. I mean, the fact of the matter is real mail bombs don't have timers, for the simple reason that mail bombs are intended to be detonated by the physical act of opening the package. So he's lying to us all. Anyway, so Cesar Sayoc's family's lawyer is saying Cesar does not have the intellectual capacity to be the package bomber. And again, having read his postings over at his Twitter page, I tend to agree. He does not impress me as the brightest bulb in the chandelier. NBC News is now reporting that Cesar has told federal investigators he didn't do it, that he had nothing to do with any of this stuff. So this is coming out of NBC News. Now, Nancy Pelosi, who has dreams of returning to be Speaker of the House after the midterms, is blaming Trump's for the bombs. Oh, my goodness, it's your horrible rhetoric against the Democrats and the corporate media. Do you remember when that Democrat shot up the GOP baseball team and seriously injured Steve Scalise? And people said, well, it's from all the violent rhetoric we're getting from the Democrats. And Pelosi said, how dare you? How dare you think that we have anything to do with that? So, anyway. Now, down in Texas, there was a business owner who got apparently tired of all this talk about how somehow this was all Trump's fault. And Renee Torres, who runs this antique shop in Keller called The Pecan, basically put a chalkboard sign outside her store that said, if Trump had sent the bombs, they would have gone off. And of course, immediate backlash. Oh, and she's out there saying, we all need to lighten up a little bit. And I'm in agreement with her. We're in a political climate right now where the Democrats' entire sense of self-worth is being constantly offended about something, anything, they don't care what. There's no way to make them happy. They live to be offended. They live to be upset. They live to just be out there screaming. All righty. Now, apparently, the Republican Jewish Coalition is now calling for the resignation of 7 Democratic members of Congress whom they claim are connected to Nation of Islam leader Louis Farrakhan, who is described as a known anti-Semite. Okay. All right, let's talk about what's going on over at Gab. Now, as you're probably aware, Gab is a recent startup. It's very successful. It is a replacement for Twitter, which we now know is being censored. And CNN did a show where they went on the attack saying that it was all Gab's fault because Gab had allowed this shooter in Pittsburgh to have a page where he posted what they're describing as anti-Semitic comments, meaning criticisms of the government of Israel. And so they're out to say it's all Gab's fault. Howard Dean actually wants Gab.com tried as an accomplice to murder. And as of 9 a.m. this morning, Gab lost their hosting. They were being hosted by GoDaddy.com. They're in the process of finding new hosting that's going to be overseas and outside the reach of American politics. But what we're getting from the U.S. government and corporate media is you will use social media we can censor. You will not use social media that supports freedom of speech. So, and apparently both PayPal and Stripe have banned Gab because apparently only big tech sites are not responsible for their users. And by the way, that is an established legal principle, that websites are not legally held responsible for the behavior of their users. And yet, of course, when it comes to Gab, Oh, yeah, we're going to take them down. They're a threat to Twitter. We have to force everybody to use social media that we can control. Reminds me of the old Outer Limits opening. We will control all that you see and hear for the next 30 minutes. We will melt your brain. All right, let's take a phone call here from Don in Iowa. Aloha, Don. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Mike. Yes, on this, you were talking about the Washington Post blaming Trump for the shootings in Pittsburgh. That's totally ridiculous. There's no way they can even come close to having any logic in making that claim, because Trump has bent over backwards to be accommodating to the whole Jewish religion, to Israel, and his daughter is married to, he has a Jewish guy.
Jared Kushner.
And, but the thing is, yeah, the reason they're pulling out all the stops and going crazy, all the Democrats, because the whole machine, the whole what do you want to call it, the cabal, the Democratic cabal, the whole thing is going down the drain. If they don't win this, at least win the House this election, they're going to be, it's a losing streak, because people are just getting, where they can see through all this propaganda, and they don't believe it at all. More and more people just don't believe it. And if the Democrats cannot deliver, what they could always do before is they had power. They would deliver. For example, let's say you're a lawyer and you want to be a district attorney, you want to be a federal judge. Well, if the Democrats don't, take control of anything, then there's no point in that lawyer sucking up to the Democrats. He'll start sucking up to the Republicans instead for his own economic gain. And this is going to be for example, like a stock market crash where it just goes down, and then it just goes down some more, and then people throw away all the stocks, and that's what's going to happen to them.
Yeah. Again, the big problem is that the Democrats, actually quite a long time ago, they ran out of real workable ideas to make life better in this country. And people are seeing that everywhere the Democrats have been in control, cities like Baltimore and San Francisco, conditions are definitely getting worse. And so the Democrats, rather than try and adjust their thinking, started playing the politics of victimology, the politics of identity, the politics of personal destruction, and they started pandering to the extreme fringes of our society. Guys who want to use the women's restroom, and people who want to, men who want to pretend they're women, women who want to pretend that they're men, or men and women who just want to flip back and forth whenever it suits them. And I think most voters are looking at that and realizing this is not America, and the Democratic Party doesn't represent America any longer. Again, we're a little over a week to the midterm elections. The polls are all over the place. It depends on whether the pollster is a liberal or a conservative, but it's definitely, the race is tightening, and we have all these pollsters who are out there predicting a landslide victory for Hillary Clinton in 2016. They're predicting a landslide victory for the Democrats in the midterms, which tells us it's basically up for grabs. And again, the wild card is election fraud, of which we are already getting reports all over the place, and the illegal immigrant voting, which is completely out of control. So we're just going to have to wait and see what's going on. But if the Democrats fail to take control of Congress, are they going to carry through with the implied threat to resort to violence?
Well, I just wanted to throw one other thing out there, is you said that everything's going to hell. Basically, I feel the exact words you said, that everything's basically going to hell in a handbasket. The thing that gets me is, politically and more or less economically, everything's screwed up. But, you look at little things like the vacuum cleaner or the ceiling fan. Everything is a lot better. Every time you buy it, they keep improving the products every year. That's what gets me. And yet the products can improve, and yet for somehow our human interaction seems like it's going to hell. Okay, that's all. I'll let you go, Mike.
All right. Well, thanks an awful lot, Don. And I disagree with your last statement because the products may have more bells and whistles and features on them, but they're not better products. They wear out more quickly, with the goal of forcing us to have to buy the same thing over and over and over again. It's planned obsolescence, and it is part of these companies' marketing strategy. A product that never breaks down or wears out is considered a business failure in this country. And the new products may look better, but they're not designed to last. Anyway, getting on back to what happened to Gab, article coming out of Lou Rockwell is predicting that more independent media will be shut down prior to the 2020 U.S. presidential election. And he basically talks about how Facebook has shut down hundreds, if not thousands, of independent media pages over the last year. That includes the Free Thought Project, the Anti-Media. It's just outright censorship. And again, I'm waiting to see how the Supreme Court is going to rule on that case about whether these kinds of companies can in fact be held to the First Amendment. All right, so let's get into Khashoggi here. That story is still circulating around. Apparently, there is a source coming out of Press TV saying that the reason Khashoggi was grabbed is he was about to disclose Saudi Arabia's use of chemical weapons in Yemen. You know, chemical weapons are bad. Every time they fake a chemical attack in Syria, they say, ooh, Assad is bad, Assad is bad. And Khashoggi apparently had documented evidence that Saudi Arabia was using them in Yemen, and that's why he had to be silenced. We're going to take a break for commercials. We got callers waiting on the line, and we will be right back.
Do you worry a lot? If you're forgetful, nervous, moody, or overwhelmed, chances are you're not protecting yourself from the ravaging effects of stress and anxiety. No matter the cause, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, your quality of life, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in as little as 1 to 2 weeks and increase your ability to recall facts, names, and numbers in 4 to 12 weeks. Calm and Clever was created by scientist Kurt Hendricks, a principal investigator in 2 NIH-funded studies on Alzheimer's disease. Try Calm and Clever for 2 months. You'll feel the difference. Call 1-800-758-8746 or go to calmandclever.com.
The First Amendment in the Bill of Rights limits the government's power by ensuring the freedom of speech and preserving the rights of the people. Every day that passes, our rights gradually slip away. It's time to take a stand and let the government know we're tired of losing our rights. LibertyStickers.com will allow you to express your rights and allow millions of people to see you stand up for what you believe in. LibertyStickers.com carries the largest selection of bumper stickers online, ranging from political to humorous, and is your #1 source for Ron Paul for President stickers. As always, you can find your favorite stickers that protest the war and the president. Don't see what you're looking for? Liberty Stickers will custom make stickers that will let you get your message across for all Americans to see. Go to LibertyStickers.com and see pre-made stickers that will get everyone talking. That's LibertyStickers.com or call 877-873-9626. Liberty Stickers, the world's most dangerous stickers.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you a few from Amazon.com. By Mel. Great product. My husband and father-in-law use it regularly. Both my husband and father-in-law have had significant change in their blood pressure and overall health. By Amazon customers. It works for me. Returned to buy the tincture and the capsules as they were on sale during February. Unlike some other products, this one worked for blood pressure and occasional irregular heartbeat. Extendivite produced noticeable results after just 2 bottles, a 4-month supply. I take Extendivite 3 times a day, every day. I think this supplement has helped with my increased fitness regime and to lower my blood pressure. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite. When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. Let's go to the phones here to Rick in Arizona. Aloha, Rick. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. How you doing today?
Fine.
Okay. You know, Mike, you got a better chance of walking through the front door of Caesar's Palace with an AR-15 than you do a synagogue in this country today. You know, Oscar Goodman, who was right out of law school, was Meyer Lansky's attorney, and he was mayor of Las Vegas for 8 years, comes from that area, along with Benjamin Netanyahu. You expect me to believe that this guy goes in there and none of those people in there are a pack of heat? I mean, there's an old joke that I once read in a book that a synagogue is nothing but a smoke room or a back room for organized crime. These people pack heat.
Okay.
Israel.
Hang on. First of all, I want you to back up here a little bit. If you look at the list of the victims, you will discover that this particular synagogue had a very elderly congregation. And I can understand...
All the more reason to have guard.
Yeah.
All the more reasons to have guard.
I agree with you on that one. They should have had an armed guard, especially during these times of international tension surrounding Israel. Okay?
Yeah. What I'm saying is, show me the bodies. Okay? You want my First and Second Amendment, at least show me the bodies. And you know what? All the people on the internet, it includes you, Rush Limbaugh, everybody. Nobody questions the authenticity. This, in my mind, is fake. And you show me none of these shootings, all the way back to Aurora. There's no evidence. There's no video or blood or nothing. Nothing. So if you want my First and Second Amendment, please show me the bodies. And it's crap. I've been in the casino industry all my career, and I'm telling you, these people built the eye in the sky. All right, they built that city, and you expect me to believe that this guy walks in with an AR-15 in a very ritzy part of? I don't buy it. And if you people don't question this stuff and call it out for what it is, you're going to lose your First and Second Amendment.
Well, our First and Second Amendments are under attack anyway, regardless of whether the shooting is as presented or not. And as I said earlier in the show, I do find the timing of this incident suspect. I don't think it's just a coincidence. I think whatever actually happened in that synagogue was done to, first of all, drive the phony bomb story out of the news cycle, to drive the migrant horde out of the news cycle, to give Israel political control for going on in and stomping on Gaza, which they're in the process of doing right now. And so I think questions about whether there really are bodies or not is kind of a distraction from analyzing its political import.
Well, I don't think so. I think if they're faking us out with these these shootings are fake, it's a serious crime against humanity in the United States. So just think about it. You're not going through the front door of a synagogue. All the money the Jewish community has gotten from Homeland Security since 9/11 is in the billions. They've got cameras that pick you up walking down the street. Don't kid yourself. You're not walking into that place with a gun. You're not.
All right. Well, I'm going to have to let you go. We got to take a break for station identification. We'll be back with another phone call after these few words.
This is too good to be true, except this time it is real. 100%. No joke. How about a $25,000 membership to Front Sight Firearms Training Facility as a thank you bonus for a one-time donation to RBN of only $500? It is a Commander lifetime membership with no yearly fees or dues. The training is free for the rest of your life with over 50 different classes. Then leave it to your designated beneficiary. You provide the approved firearm, holster, ammo, eye, and ear protection. Many features and bonuses are included, more than you would ever expect or believe. This is the ultimate graduation present, wedding gift, etc., etc. See the details. Go to RBN's webpage and frontsight.com to make it happen. You will hear this offer only on this radio network. Help keep RBN alive. Tell 5.
You're listening to Republic Broadcasting Network because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number 2. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And we're going to go to Francis in Montreal. Aloha, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Aloha, Mike. First
Yes.
of all, I just want to say in passing that the guy before me was bang on. And Sandy Hook Elementary School had a brand new CCTV camera system. And I don't want to see little kids butchered. I don't want to see pictures of it. But I would like to see that gunman coming in the front door with his guns. And there's pictures of that if he actually did come through the front door with guns. And so I don't believe Sandy Hook. And until I see more evidence of this synagogue shooting, I'm not going to believe that one either. It's all a fake and a fraud. They've become addicted to this nonsense now. And, you know, you're talking about this is all part of the buildup for the midterm elections. And I really like Thierry Mason's Voltaire.net. And he's been writing about this. And what he's basically laying out is that this midterm election next week is perhaps going to be one of the most important elections in U.S. history.
I agree on that part.
If Trump loses, two things are going to immediately happen. He's going to be impeached. Okay? They don't care whether right or wrong. They need to impeach him to stop him. And even Hillary now is coming out. She wants to run for president again. She really wants to be president. She's insane. She's a witch. But the second thing is what's really scary. And it's going back to 1956 when Israel, Britain, and France wanted to seize the Suez Canal, and Eisenhower stopped them. And we're right back to that now. And what's happening is France, Britain, Turkey, and Israel, if Trump loses, they're going to immediately stage a huge attack. They have to murder Assad at all costs. They're insane. And part of it is this addiction to 19th century colonial thinking. The French are desperate to have at the end of World War I, the treaties that were, like for the League of Nations, all that, handed Syria to France. They want Syria to be their colony again. And they want to create a Kurdistan in the north, right up to the Mediterranean for the Kurds. Turkey wants to attack too, but they don't want a Kurdistan. They want to invade. They want Erdogan wants to reestablish the Ottoman Empire, and the British want to attack because they want to block the Silk Road into the Mediterranean.
Yes,
which is I've been reading a lot about this lately. This is a war that goes a war over control of an economic artery that goes back 4,000 years. Goes right back to Mesopotamia and the Sassanids and the Persians and all this stuff. Like, this is hugely important. And Israel, of course, wants to destroy all their neighbors and have chaos and ruin around them. And the really dangerous. This is going to be a war that's going to be 10 times, 100 times worse than what we've already seen in Syria.
Yes.
And now the Russians have drawn the line. And it's not really, I know you know about it, and probably most of your listeners know about it, but when that Su-20 got shot down because of IDF trickery, and the Russians became enraged because the passengers on board that plane were high-level technical officials, and they all got killed. And the Russians, it's not just Putin. Putin is just the front man for a cabal or a cadre of high-level fanatic Russian generals. And they're not going to let Russia go down at any cost. And they've established air superiority over Syria that's ironclad. And this is immediately going to, any plane that goes in there in an invasion is going to get shot down. The U.S. is going to get dragged in. Israel's going to lose planes. And they really want to go after not just Syria, it'll rapidly spread in an attack on Iran. And the Chinese communists have said that if anybody attacks Iran, China is in all the way for Iran.
So is Russia.
The Russians have said, yep, and this is going to go nuclear really, really fast. So I'm a Canadian. You know, what Americans do is their business, but I just pray and hope that the Americans make the right vote next week and vote for the Republicans, because if they don't, all hell is going to break loose on this planet.
Yep. I'm afraid it is that serious. It's
all these false flag events.
Well, like I told that other caller, okay, I have not looked at what happened at the Tree of Life Synagogue any further than the list of victims. And like I said, the timing is a little too cute. And Sandy Hook, when that shooting incident happened, there was no working camera system because the school itself wasn't actually operational. And we get back to Wolfgang Halbig. So whether this is just whether it's just another fake or not, it is irrelevant to discussing how it's being exploited politically. And I don't want to get taken off discussing how it's being used, because that's a much more important topic than getting tangled up in trying to figure out, are there really bodies or not? They've used that one before to try and, to get us focused on these little side issues and not really look at how these incidents are being used to manipulate public opinion.
Yeah. Well, I've never seen it go so crazy it is right now, and it's just getting worse and worse. And the Democrats and these neocons, like, they're just rabid dogs. I just can't believe how insane they are. Like, they want a nuclear war.
Yeah.
That's all I can. They just want to have mega death and nuclear war and ruin, and it's a very strange cult of people.
Well, you've got those who think they're going to make money off of it during the rebuilding. You actually do have, unfortunately, a lot of very religious people in our country and our government who are absolutely convinced that if they destroy the world, Jesus is going to come down and invite everybody up to the big house. And that's a very scary situation. Plus, you have the fact that probably most of those people who are in politics are on prescription antidepressants, and that is making them mentally unstable.
Well, just to change the subject a bit before I leave, there's actually an interview with Nicole Kidman. And, of course, as you know, she was a star in Eyes Wide Shut.
Mm-hmm.
And she's saying now that before he died, Kubrick told her that the world is ruled by a cabal of elite pedophiles.
Okay, well, that's certainly one theory, and we do know that apparently pedophilia is rampant among the world's elites, and I don't understand why, unless it's the thrill of getting away with something that is so repugnant to the rest of the world's population. If you think about it, these elites, these are people who don't really have much of a thrill in life. They've got everything they could want. They never face any real challenges. So they're looking to get their adrenaline going again, and so they engage in this kind of behavior. Maybe that's one explanation.
Yep. Okay, Mike. Well, I hope you don't get taken off the air, but there is hope. And one of the things people don't realize is the World Wide Web is not the only way or the only protocol for using the internet, as you well know.
Yes.
And there's new technologies coming where we're going to be able to circumvent the World Wide Web. And there's already where you can have web pages that are run through high-speed internet with torrents. And in a way, this is a bad time because a lot of networks are going to be shut down. A lot of people are going to be, but in the long term, it might be a good thing because we might end up with not just one internet of World Wide Web. We might end up with an infinite number of internets with all sorts of different protocols that can't be interfered with, and you can't just go shut off the root servers like they can, the DNS servers, like with the World Wide Web.
Yeah.
So there's despair, but there's also a lot of hope too. The internet is an amazing thing, right? And the guys that created it, I think, were a bunch of engineers that were kind of subversive against the people they were working for, and they deliberately designed it so that nobody could interfere with us talking.
Actually, no. The engineers who designed the internet were working for the Defense Department's Advanced Research Projects Agency, and their task specifically said that this internet has to be able to survive a nuclear war and keep people in communication, even if it loses up to 1/3 of all of its connections. That's what they set out to do. But at the same time, the government never intended ordinary people to have access to this system. And it broke free and went public, and that's when the ARPANET became the internet. But you're right, there are other means of communication, and we understand that a lot of other countries are talking about developing their own internally supported internet in order to get away from American interference. Now, as far as social media platforms are concerned, I'm not concerned because I quit using Facebook and Twitter and Google last spring. If they drop my accounts, it's absolutely meaningless at this point because I'm not using their systems to put out my news. I have my own webpage. It's on a server. It's hosted by a company that so far has been very supportive of freedom of speech. And again, like Gab, if it gets taken down, I'll look for a server in some other country, maybe up in Iceland, and we'll get back there. But it's not like getting rid of the independent media is going to just immediately transform the American people back into believing and trusting the government and the corporate media. It's not going to happen. It's going to be decades. I mean, everybody I talk to, they're absolutely convinced corporate media and the government are lying about pretty much everything. They're not going to go back to believing blindly. We've become a nation of cynics. Unfortunately, sadly, right now, that's a healthy thing.
It is.
Yep.
Well, have a good day there, Mike. Good talking to you again. Bye.
All right. Thanks an awful lot. We're going to do a shout out now to our on-air affiliates rejoining the network, and we're going to go to Ed in Philadelphia. Aloha, Ed. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Oh, aloha, Mike. A couple things. I do agree with the guy a couple callers before about actually seeing the pictures on the camera. I worked back in the 90s. I worked for an overnight delivery service, and I would have to deliver to a Jewish organization. And every time I have to go in, I have to go through a metal detector. And then after the metal detector, I had to ring the bell, and there was a camera there. And this is in the 90s. This is way back.
Yes.
Second, do you remember the two gentlemen that were arrested first in the Starbucks in Philadelphia?
It's not.
They didn't want coffee, and they were just sitting there.
Oh yeah, I remember those two. Yeah.
Okay, across the street from there is a synagogue.
Yeah.
And every Saturday, there's an armed guard there all the time. It's been there for years. They've been an armed guard. They have a private guards. And they've been there for a few years now. And on Saturday, as long as I've been working in the city, on Saturday there's a Philadelphia patrol car there. This has been going on a long time.
Well, that one caller did make a good point. Following 9/11, the Department of Homeland Security put out all this funding to improve security in our country, the vast majority of which went to Jewish organizations and synagogues. So either that money was completely wasted or this was a staged setup. And as I said earlier in the show, the timing is just too cute. It served so many purposes that different parties wanted right now.
Right, and there's a I bike ride a lot, and I go by different buildings, and I go out to the suburbs, and out in Montgomery County, there's a lot of the big Jewish community, and there's synagogues, and I've ridden by them. Again, I've ridden by them, and the local police, they're there on Saturday.
Well,
it's been going for a long time.
Like I said, the timing is suspicious. I do think it was set up. But again, I think it's more important to realize how it's being exploited politically than to get sort of tangled off over on the side, because the people who are behind these kinds of hoaxes, that's what they want us to do, to get distracted off in some direction, like on 9/11 itself. Was there really a plane at the Pentagon or not? Because as long as we're arguing about that, then we're not looking at the larger picture of just how that incident was being used to manipulate the American public.
No, you're right, Mike, and I just wanted to throw that out there and just tell people that when Trump came out about armed guards at the places of worship, it's nothing new. It's been going on for a long time, and that's all I needed to say. Thanks.
Okay,
Mike.
all right, thanks an awful lot, and we're going to switch over to Layla in Ontario. Layla, welcome back to the show. Long time no hear from. What is on your mind?
Yes, it's the synagogue that is under discussion. When people say that this is a political event or it's being exploited politically for the wider American public, I think what has to be remembered is that the reform is the very liberal or the very leftist portion of Judaism, and they believe in Tikkun Olam, and they've been supporting the Palestinians, many of them, not all of them, for about a decade or 2 decades. And this is probably the core of this message is intended for the Jewish community, that their loyalty must be to Israel. Now, this is not really, we know that religion is exploited, and the reforms seem to be just like the liberal Muslims who are tolerant of many things that the fanatical Muslims are not tolerant of. The same schism exists within Judaism, and this is primarily intended. I don't think we even have to speculate. The problem is that there has been solidarity amongst Jews in the past, all Jews, with regard to Israel, and we only have to look back to the Holocaust itself. Who was sacrificed? Who was considered a necessary sacrifice for the greater good, for the greater goal of the elite? It was the anti-Zionists who refused to leave Europe and go to Palestine. And likewise, they have now picked out a group of people that are considered the acceptable sacrifice, the human sacrifice for the greater good. It's just, and the other thing too is there's a Canadian connection. There was a spokesperson here in Canada who said, "Oh, one of those people was raised here in Toronto and was married here," and the speech was so well rehearsed that it was clearly prepared in advance. Anyone who does not question this and look back with objectivity on the events of the Holocaust and the way it was exploited is going to realize, and again, the message was always primarily to the Jewish community to follow the rules, to obey, because once the army breaks ranks, you're in trouble. So you've got to punish very severely those, or at least set an example of what punishment awaits those who break ranks from the dogma that's being handed down. Now, those are only assertions on my part. I mean, they're not even really assertions, they're questions that people might want to consider. I'm not making allegations or assertions, but I do think that it's partially intended. It has a multifactorial benefit. And the Canadian who called in earlier and said that Canada, the U.S. can do whatever it wants, Canada's not affected. On the contrary, Canada is very much affected by what happens. For example, the spokesperson that I saw from I think it was the temple here in Toronto. So it's definitely something that people may want to question. And I hear the music coming up, so I assume I will be let go.
Yeah, thank you very much for the information, Layla. I didn't realize that the Tree of Life Synagogue actually supported the Palestinians. So we're going to let you go, take a break for commercials. Got another caller waiting on the line. We'll be right back.
Extendivite, a 7-herb combination of garlic, cayenne, hawthorn, bilberry, ginkgo biloba, valerian, and milk thistle. Extendivite is designed to strengthen the heart and arteries and help the body heal itself. Doctors are not able to explain the improvements they are seeing in their patients' health who are taking Extendivite. People who once needed more pills are now taking less and getting better. Due to the unexplainable improvements in their patients' health, more doctors are calling to order Extendivite for themselves. Help Extendivite make your doctor a believer. Extendivite is available in capsule or liquid form for just $69.95 for a 2-month supply. To get started, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge $20, $30, $40, $50, if possible, $100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
Well, they're stealing down on Wall Street and in Washington, too. You know, it makes me wonder, what's a guy on Main Street to do? I've always tried to be an honest, upstanding kind of guy. And I must admit lately, I thought about giving something else a try. Oh, I want to be a pirate. I want to sail the 7 seas, yeah, I want to be a pirate.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. And we're going to go back to the phones to Laura in Michigan. Aloha, Laura. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi,
Hi, Mike. Hi, Mike. I was listening to Rick Adams' show Saturday, and he had Jim Fetzer on. I heard something very shocking. Maybe everybody else knows about it. I didn't know about it. He said that the woman who played Heather Heyer's mother, Heather Heyer was the one who was supposedly run over in Charlottesville. He said the person who played her mother is the same person that played the mother of a killed teacher at Sandy Hook. He said they must be recycling their crisis actors.
Well, I know that there have been a lot of photos out there showing what appear to be the same exact people showing up at these multiple events. But again, absent like a fingerprint or DNA, it's really impossible to say. And I want to be very very cautious about making such a declarative statement, simply because there are so many people in the United States. You can find people who do look alike, even though they're not relatives. I've got one doppelganger out there that I'm aware of who looks like me. Again, to me, this kind of stuff is trying to take us away from the political dimensions, and I think we need to stay focused on that.
Well, I just thought that was kind of important. If they could prove it, it would be very important. Also, talk about Donald Trump being a white nationalist. Recently he hosted a whole bunch of black achieving students in the White House. Well, do you think he would ever dare to have a group of white achieving students hosted in the White House?
Well, the whole point of the phrase white nationalist is to equate nationalism with racism, to say that wanting to have your country and secure borders is now a racist endeavor. And it's a variation on the theme that anybody opposed to the illegal immigrants coming into this country is being a racist, which we are not, because illegal isn't a race.
Right. But that's kind of, they keep saying that. I don't guess our white people are getting recognition for anything anymore.
No, we become a political target. Like we saw happen in Africa, it's happening here now. All of a sudden, it's okay to discriminate against white people.
Right. Yeah. I know. I've got a girl that I talk to all the time. She goes to college, and she's in anthropology. And the stuff they teach them, that everybody's black, everybody came from Africa, all that type of thing.
Well, if everybody came from the same source in Africa, then we're all one race. And so what's all the fuss about? Now, I happen to think, in point of fact, that humans right now actually descended from multiple original sources in different parts of the world. We know from the fossil record there were all kinds of pre-human hominids, many different species. And the idea that only one survived to become us, or actually two, Cro-Magnon and Neanderthal, I think is purely an assumption. We know now that the Cro-Magnon and Neanderthal didn't kill off the Neanderthal. They interbred. Okay, but I do think that there are multiple sources for the human race, and I think that's why there is such variety.
Well, I go back to the Bible. The sixth day creation, God created all the races. So right there you have it, That's what I feel. All the races were created. And I don't think they were Neanderthals either. For instance, God told Adam to name the animals. So he couldn't be a Neanderthal and name all the animals.
Well,
I think people need to study Genesis just a little bit closer.
Hang on a second. My understanding was that after the creation of the universe, it was just Adam and Eve until they had their kids, and Then Cain's wife shows up. We don't know where from. I think the idea of naming all the nations came in a little bit later. But again, you have to remember, and I'm sorry you're going to really hate me for saying this, the Bible was written by Bronze Age goat herders to assure themselves that they were important to the universe. It is not a scientific or historical document, okay? And I'm sorry, it's not. It's metaphors, it's legends, it's fables, it's a suggested code of morality, like any other religious document. But it really cannot be used as a factual basis when you're talking about anthropology and the fossil record. Anyway, Laura, got to let you go. Got to take another break for commercials, and we'll be right back.
Okay, thanks.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
I'm getting older and noticing that my body just doesn't work as well as it used to. So I like to keep fit as possible by hitting the gym a few times a week. Recently, I started having a nagging bicep pain, and it got so bad I couldn't even lift the weights. When I was complaining about it to a friend, he told me about Angioprim. He said chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in veins and arteries that may cause blockages. You know, after just 1 week of taking Angioprim, the pain was gone, and now I'm back in the gym full strength. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. So to learn more, go to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com, or talk to a trained consultant. Call Angioprim toll free at 877-882-7221. You'll feel better with more energy. Call 877-882-7221 or go to the website angioprim.com.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds, up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AROutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more, plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AROutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AROutfitting.com.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight. women.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. Getting on back to the news here. We're talking about Jamal Khashoggi. And it has now come on out that apparently Great Britain knew that this was all going to come down. Apparently GCHQ was intercepting internal communications by Saudi Arabia's General Intelligence Directorate and revealed there were orders by a member of the Royal Circle to abduct Khashoggi and bring him back to Saudi Arabia. Now, they're saying that these orders did not emanate directly from Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. It's not known if he was even aware of them, but it was somebody very high up within the Saudi government. And that's actually a little more consistent with what I thought had gone down, that they didn't intend to kill him inside the consulate, that they were going to grab him, that they were going to take him back to Saudi Arabia, according to that other report, because he had evidence Saudi Arabia was using chemical weapons in Yemen. Now, there's a very interesting article that came out over Zero Hedge, and they in turn are quoting an article from Financial Times suggesting that Western intelligence agencies are now delinking from Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman because of all the negative publicity around the death of Khashoggi. He's now damaged goods. The brand has been harmed. And so intelligence officials are saying it might be looking at a regime change in Riyadh or a coup d'etat. Okay. Now, Turkey, meanwhile, is demanding the extradition of 18 Saudis over the Khashoggi killing, 15 of whom are supposed to have been the 15-man kill team or abduction team, depending upon whose version of the story you believe. But they definitely want them here. Meanwhile, over in Yemen, story out of UNS.com saying that the death toll in Yemen is actually 5 times higher than has been reported so far. And again, when you're dealing with deaths of civilians or your own force, you tend to undercount them. I remember back in Vietnam days, we didn't find out just how many people had really died until after that war was completely over. They came out and said, oh my goodness, we just, we missed all of these. And yeah, it was a very, very bad situation over there. All right, so let's talk about the migrant horde or the barbarian horde. Trump is out there announcing this is an invasion. Our military is waiting for you. And apparently the Pentagon is getting ready to deploy 5,000 troops to the border to bolster the existing National Guard and Customs and Border Patrol presence that's already there. And they're going to be taking equipment, including concrete barriers, to positions along the 2,000-mile border with Mexico. And I'm sure that there's already drones and satellites watching where these migrants are going to attempt to cross the border. Now, yesterday, the migrant horde took a break on their journey in southern Mexico. They basically just sat down for a day of rest, which I can imagine would be needed, because Mexico apparently is now starting to ban the use of buses and trucks to bring the migrants northward. Apparently they have invoked part of their insurance laws to basically stop these buses and trucks from doing this. So these migrants are now back to walking, which means they may not be here by the midterm elections. Apparently, Mexico actually offered the migrants to stay in Mexico. And you can they apply for refugee status and stay in the country's 2 southernmost states. And instead, the migrants vowed that they were going to continue heading for the U.S. border. Apparently, the Catholic Church is now getting involved in this whole situation. They're promoting lawlessness and ignoring national sovereignty, all under the guise of charity. So there's this Catholic organization, the Catholic Legal Immigration Network, and it's part of the Cara Family Detention Pro Bono Project Coalition that is supporting this invading caravan. And this Mexican bishop, Bishop Jaime Calderon of Tapachula, Mexico, is praising the generosity of people who are assisting the migrants, and saying that God will reward anybody who helps the migrant horde get into the United States of America. So, 5,000, still not sure it's going to be enough, but it's better than the 2,000 they had before. And again, SecDef Mattis is sending military equipment down there, including concrete barriers, temporary fences, tents, trucks, jeeps. They are starting to finally take this thing seriously, and it looks to me like Donald Trump has finally realized this is a test of his presidency. This is his chance to make good on his promise that he was going to defend our borders here. Apparently, down in the second caravan, there have been clashes between the different groups of migrants that involve the throwing of Molotov cocktails and the use of children as human shields. There's been one reported death. Meanwhile, there is a third caravan that is just now starting its trek toward the U.S. border. Okay. Apparently, one of the people traveling in this caravan is an illegal immigrant who's actually wanted for attempted murder here in the U.S., but he still wants to get back into the United States of America. Turning back to our domestic politics, again, as I mentioned earlier in the show, the midterms are a week from tomorrow. The early voting turnout is showing a strong GOP turnout, and the Democrats are in a panic. Apparently, over in Wisconsin, Senator Tammy Baldwin, Montana Senator John Tester, Virginia Senator Tim Kaine, and Senate candidate Scott Wallace of Pennsylvania, Representative Jackie Rosen of Nevada, are ducking questions regarding donations from what's called the Population Connection Action Fund. And this organization is promoting forced sterilization campaigns. They're also behind the idea of taxing parents who have more than 2 children. And so that's how these Democrats are getting some of their funding from this organization that basically wants to forcibly sterilize you. Okay, over in Wisconsin, there's a candidate who ran twice for House Speaker Paul Ryan's 1st Congressional District seat, Jeremy Ryan 30. Apparently, he's been arrested for trying to purchase radioactive material to kill someone. And apparently, he was out on the dark web searching for radioactive material, and he ran afoul of an FBI sting operation. So he was arrested for that as well. Okay. Over in Pennsylvania, Sarah Inamorato, who's a Democratic socialist running for a seat in the Pennsylvania House of Representatives, called residents in her own district white working class poor folk who are racist. And that has now caused a tremendous uproar. The Democrats are self-destructing. When you're a week away from a midterm, or 2 weeks away, you don't insult the people whose votes you need. But this Sarah basically came on out with a statement saying, I just look at my district, right, and it's 93% white. She said it during an interview on TV station KDKA, or it may have been a radio station. And she said, my district, which I know is like white working class poor folk who are racist, because it's so much easier for them to look to their side and say, I'm going to blame that person. That is not how you win votes. That is not how you win votes. Unless she's absolutely convinced that the election is rigged, and she's going to win anyway, no matter what she says. All right. Judicial Watch has scored a victory. A federal district court has reaffirmed the constitutionality of Ohio's new voting law. Now, the law was being challenged by the AFL-CIO's Phillips Randolph Institution to reinstate 1.5 million potentially ineligible voters onto the voting rolls. And Judicial Watch came on in with an amicus curiae brief saying this would harm the public interest, given that so many of the reinstated registrations would be legally invalid because they're associated with voters who are living in other states or who are deceased. Now, remember back in, I think it was 2000, Ohio was at the center of this firestorm of controversy over election fraud, massive election fraud during the Bush and Gore campaigns. This system has to be cleaned up, and I'm very disappointed in Donald Trump that he dropped the ball on this. And he has to understand, if he does not get an honest, verifiable election system by 2020, he will be toast. Now, Associated Press ran a story claiming that down in Georgia, there was a campaign of voter suppression going on. And it has to do with something that are called pending votes. And Associated Press claimed that 53,000 people had been placed on the pending votes list, meaning they're pending, but they haven't been given permission to vote yet. And AP is saying that this is all voter suppression. But if you look at the pending votes list, 9,000 are pending because the person is not yet 18, the legal age to vote. Almost 3,000 were pending because they used a fake address. Over 3,000 are pending because citizenship could not be verified. And almost 6,000 are considered pending because they match another active voter file. Now, 75% of the people on that list are on that list because they failed the Social Security number verification, which was a process put in place under the Obama administration. Our election system is a disgrace. It's an absolute national embarrassment. And again, if you go to my webpage, up at the very top, right underneath where my face is. And yes, it's an old picture. I need to get a new one. There's an article I wrote on how to have honest elections. And I'm not saying it's a perfect system, but it's certainly much harder to rig and much easier to detect election fraud than our current black box electronic voting machine systems. And by the way, there have already been complaints coming out of Texas that once again, people are pushing the button on the electronic voting machine and it's registering the wrong candidate. How much longer are we going to be putting up with this nonsense? Okay, in early voting down in Florida, the Republicans are in the lead. And the lead is increasing. Right now, overall for the state, they're ahead by 74,000. And it looks to be, again, increasing here. As that caller mentioned, Hillary Clinton is out there leaving the door open for a 2020 run. She really wants to be president. And it would be a disaster. It would give this entire country over to total political corruption. Uranium One deal, the Clinton Foundation, possible espionage. No, Hillary Clinton cannot be president of the United States. I mean, look how hard she cheated in 2016. Do we want a cheater to be running this country? I don't think so here. Over at the Senate Judiciary Committee, their chairman, Chuck Grassley, has referred lawyer Michael Avenatti to the Justice Department for a second criminal investigation. Apparently, what happened is that his accuser against Trump recanted her allegations against Brett Kavanaugh even before he submitted her sworn declaration. In other words, she came on in and said, Kavanaugh did this, Kavanaugh did that. And this is Julie Swetnick, the one who came on out with the claims that Kavanaugh was dosing the punch at parties in order to gang rape all the girls with his buddies. Apparently, she retracted that claim, and Avenatti submitted it anyway. So he's looking at a criminal proceeding over that one as well for presenting false information to the Senate Judiciary Committee. Meanwhile, over at NBC, and we did touch on this briefly last week, NBC is trying to extricate itself from a little bit of embarrassment after it came on out that NBC had information that undermined the Swetnick allegations and sat on them. They hid it. They didn't let the public know that there were reasons to doubt Swetnick's claims. Okay. All right, let's get into the conflict zones because there is a lot going on here. Vladimir Putin is out there saying that an Idlib offensive is still an available option if the terrorist threat remains. Now, remember, last October 27th, the leaders of Turkey, France, and Germany and Russia met in Istanbul to take part in a summit on the conflict in Syria. And they were basically talking about the deconfliction zone or the buffer zone around Idlib, which was supposed to be emptied by all the terrorists. And many of them did. They took their heavy weapons and they went home. But two of the groups backed by the United States are still there. And so Putin is saying that if they do not leave, there will be a military offensive to basically retake Idlib. And if Idlib is retaken, and it will be, that's the end of the war. It's all over. And the United States doesn't have a reason to stay there, even though, as of right now, for all practical purposes, it's still occupying part of Syria. We got to take a break for commercials, and we'll be right back.
Do you know there is an ongoing war right here in America? Are you aware that U.S. citizens have been classified as enemies of the state since 1933? Have you recognized that our entire government is really a vast network of interlocking corporations engaged in commerce? Look up Title 28, Section 3002. Tune in to In Defense of Humanity on Saturday nights at 7 p.m. Central Time. Find out what's really going on and learn how to protect yourself and your family as flesh and blood men and women living in a corporate reality.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. This product is superb. I have been taking it for about a year now, and I can feel my cardiovascular system run like a Swiss watch. I definitely recommend this product for anyone that has high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and heart palpitations, A+. It's potent, but it works. I have been waking up for the past 3 years with numb hands, and a week into using Extendivite, my numb hands seem to have cleared up. My circulation was off, and now it's back on track. So I'm happy. I feel so energized, and I have my husband on it now. My mother-in-law has cholesterol problems, so I bought her a bottle as well. Thank you so much. Love the product. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. As most of you know, my regular listeners, I offer energy cleaners for sale at my website. If you don't have a clue what I'm talking about, go to my website, thelibertyman.com, educate yourself about these marvelous healing devices. We focus on pain mitigation and getting a great night's sleep. Arthritis pain, joint pain, back pain, doesn't matter. Keep in mind, I offer from me to you personally a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's what I do. Energy Cleaners, $285, shipping included to American zip codes. You can educate yourself all about the Energy Cleaner right there at my website, the patent application, the wonderful testimonials. Be sure and check out the factory-made fitted mattress pads to go with the Energy Cleaner. Now, I offer from me to you personally a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's what I do. I have a toll-free order line, or you can order it right at my website at thelibertyman.com. The toll-free order line is 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. Thank you.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Join Mike on the air. Call toll-free 800-313-9443. 800-313-9443.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're talking about the conflict zones around the world. And as you know, Israel has been carrying out strikes in Syria. Now, they appear to be avoiding the areas protected by the new S-400s. But apparently, U.S. military officials are now expressing concern that Israel's aggressive military campaign could actually cause Syria and Iran to attack American targets in Syria and Iraq in retaliation. This came out of the Wall Street Journal. And of course, that's exactly what Israel would like to see happen. To get Iran and Syria to launch an attack, at which point, oh, we're the victims, and we're going to go on in and basically just trash the place. Because Israel wants war with Iran, as long as somebody else pays for it and fights it, just like they did with Iraq. Palestinians are still being killed along that border fence between Gaza and Israel, and apparently Israel, in addition to using the IDF troops, is now using armed drones. And apparently 3 Palestinian teenagers were killed by a drone strike. And the Israeli military are claiming they were placing an improvised explosive device near the border in the southern part of the enclave. So that is continuing. Israeli forces, meanwhile, have opened fire at Palestinian farmers in the northern Gaza Strip. And they opened fire on farmers in the town of Beit Hanun, injuring one of them. And of course, he's been taken to the hospital for necessary medical treatment. Now, the farmers were then forced to leave their lands in fear for their lives, and the Israeli army is saying they came too close to the buffer zone. Now, this is another way that Israel oppresses the Palestinians, because the Palestinian farmers, they have this farmland, they're trying to grow crops, and Israel will unilaterally declare a buffer zone into the farmer's land, saying you cannot come within 100 feet of the border fence. Well, to a farmer, that's a lot of land that should be growing crops. And apparently the Israelis, when the farmers are trying to farm their own land, that's justification to fire on them. Meanwhile, Israel is apparently evading demands from around the world to end the Gaza protests and reach some kind of a truce, make some kind of a deal. Because the violence is only fueling more violence and the optics are looking bad. And apparently, coincident with the synagogue shooting, Israel uncorked on Gaza over the weekend. 87 different targets hit. And if you look at how small Gaza actually is, that's a lot of strikes. Anyway, apparently Israeli settlers took over a Palestinian house in Silwan after the Israeli occupation officers forced the Palestinians out using gunfire. So this family of 11 are now homeless, and the illegal settlers have a home, a building. All right, we're going to take a break for station identification. We have a caller waiting on the line as soon as we come back from these words from our sponsors.
Many people write about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you a few from Amazon.com. My wife and I both use Extendivite and are very pleased with the results. It has helped to stabilize our blood pressure and to make both of us feel healthier. Good product and good buy. So far, so good. I've been taking Extendivite 3 times a day, only a short while now, but already I've noticed the circulation in my hands and feet improving. They tingle. I like the idea of taking something herbal rather than pills. I take Extendivite 3 times a day, every day. I think this supplement has helped with my increased fitness regime and to lower my blood pressure. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number 3, and we're going to go right to the phones. Mark in Montana, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Howdy, Michael. I'm not sure if you had a chance to listen to Alex Jones today or not, but he had Andrew Torba on there, who was the founder of Gab.
Yes.
Gab was not only defunded, but they've been deplatformed now. Their website's gone.
Yeah.
Totally gone. So he talked about it. He said that the Justice Department had got a hold of him because this wackadoo that shot up the synagogue had an account there.
Mm-hmm.
And he said what the media is not telling you is this guy was a very, very rabidly anti-Trump, very pro like National Socialism with a Jewish hate bent kind of thing going on. And he said he cooperated with them, and shortly afterwards he was deplatformed. I mean, this is ridiculous, man. The whole censorship. Like I told you before, I had both of my Facebook accounts taken down, and one of them for putting up a post about the Democrats in Texas. There's 16 of them going to jail for registering dead people to vote. And the other one, They didn't even give me a reason. They just deplatformed it. It's ridiculous. If you don't see the political bent in this, and I'm a libertarian, I hate both parties pretty much equally. Kind of like Trump, though. But if you can't see the political bent coming from the left, you're blind. I mean, this is ridiculous. I never thought I would live today. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say the left is completely abandoning the founding principles of this nation. They're talking violence. They're in favor of censorship. They want complete totalitarian control over what the voters are seeing and hearing in order to maintain their grip on power. And all I can say is that if the GOP manages to maintain control of Congress in these midterms, and the early voting numbers are saying they're going to, then Congress and Donald Trump had better start really addressing the issue of how these corporate media companies were being used to skew the election. And they were caught doing it back in 2016, and I don't understand why Donald Trump isn't doing more about this, not to mention our crooked election system and the illegal immigrant voting issues. These are absolutely distorting our elections so that the will of ordinary, everyday, law-abiding American voters is being ignored or marginalized. So I think right now this has to be seen as pretty much one of the most important issues of the day. And I do wish Trump would do something about it.
Yeah, I'm actually a part of one of these groups that I get polled quite often for my opinion, and I'm kind of a unique voter in that I don't own a television set, and I couldn't tell you who the latest pop music singer is. I don't watch TV. I don't keep up on music or country music, nothing. I just I kind of my life kind of quit in 1987, 88, and I've lived there ever since, you know. So they market me quite a bit, and they are always wanting my opinion on stuff. And I'm pretty opinionated. They do get it. But I really honestly think that they need to go after Facebook, Twitter, and these other ones under the Sherman Antitrust Act, because, and I've said that before, that they're in cahoots. There's just probably a RICO violation there too, because they all get together and then all of a sudden they ban somebody at the same time. So somebody's making phone calls to each other, or they're meeting somewhere, they're having webinars with each other, whatever. It's definitely a concerted effort to go after conservative radio or libertarian radio. And websites, of course. I mean, there's no question that it's going on. And like I said, there is this case that is currently before the United States Supreme Court, which, if the decision goes the way we all hope it does, would open up all corporate social media to First Amendment lawsuits. And that, I think, is going to have a much greater effect on the issue than simply breaking them up. Because what happens when you take one big liberal leading social media company and turn it into 10 social media companies? They're going to be just as liberal, and they're going to go on banning conservatives. Because you're right, it is all part of a group, a cabal, if you will. And so we'll see what happens. But if the GOP maintains control of Congress in next week's elections, Trump has really got to get off of his duff and do something to fix the illegal immigrant voting issue. We need a nationwide voter ID law, and we need to basically look at the issue of election fraud, especially inside those electronic machines. I mean, look at how many years we keep hearing the same story over and over again. I push the button for my candidate, it tallies for the opposite candidate, and every time they say, oh, it was probably human error, and don't worry, even though we found all this fraud and bad voting and everything, it didn't alter the final outcome, which is an absolutely unsupportable statement to make. Well, and fortunately, I'm as a Montanan, I actually flew home 2 weeks ago, 1,600 miles, specifically to vote, and we do manual voting. We fill in the little dot with a pen. Good. You know, so I'm sure there can still be fraud with that. I don't know. But once it goes through that counting machine, you have no idea what's going on. I know, and I don't know what the answer is. I actually kind of like the way New Hampshire, I think it's New Hampshire does it. They all have a town meeting and they raise their hand, yay, and then they count the votes for whoever, you know. That may be a better way to go. That way it's public record. But I think another way to do it would be when that little punch card goes into the machine, we get a receipt back that tells us how we voted. Well, I think by the time you get the receipt, you know, if there's been a mistake, it's too late to correct it. But again, go to whatreallyhappened.com, and at the very top of the page, over on the left-hand side, just 2 lines below my picture, there's an article I wrote on this very topic, How to Have Honest Elections. And I think if you look at it, you're going to realize there are some good points in there. For one thing, it gets away from all these electronic machines that you can't see inside of. And I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's definitely going to be very hard to rig elections and very easy to spot attempts to rig the elections using this approach. And ever since I wrote this article, I've gotten emails from other countries saying this is very close to what we do here. Awesome. I'll take a look at it and see what I think, use my critical thinking ability, and maybe I can add something to it or take something away. I don't know. Suggestions are welcome. Suggestions are definitely welcome. Awesome. Well, thank you, Michael. I really appreciate your show. I got to get back to moving this drilling rig. So you have a great one, and I'll be listening as much as I possibly can. All right. Well, thank you very much. And always safety first. We're going to do a shout out to our on-air affiliates rejoining our network and switch over to Daniel in British Columbia. Aloha, Daniel. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Aloha, Mike. Yeah, you know, I have to agree with you. And coming from someone who studied Sandy Hook till I was blue in the face, this Robert Bowers guy, whether this whole thing was staged or not, he handed the Jews what they wanted right on a silver platter. You
Not to
know,
mention the Democrats.
It's just, yeah, I mean, it's they're blaming Trump, and it didn't matter whether he was a Trump hater or not. That's not being pushed in the media. The one thing that's not being asked in the media, and it's all over the CBC today. I mean, there's nothing else in the news at all, and it's kind of curious that this shooting didn't happen during the Khashoggi murder, or when these fake bombs were appearing all over the place, or during the Kavanaugh hearing. It just happened to happen when it did, and the timing was impeccable. But one question they're not asking is why this guy did it. Why did he hate Jews so much that he would, you know, risk his life? And you know, if he was he certainly would have done this kind of thing, because he just, like I said, he handed them what they wanted. So they're gonna go after those AR-15s, and they're gonna go after the free speech on the internet or anywhere else. You know, the Sandy Hook thing. I mean, I studied that thing so hard, and I seen that it was getting a lot of traction. Wolfgang Habig's still out there.
Yes.
But, you know, it's like a wall. And, you know, without short of these kids showing up at the halftime at the Super Bowl, I mean, even that wouldn't wake people up. And, you know, so this Robert Bowers guy, it's kind of curious that he used his real name on Gab and not like, you know, 123 or something like that. Like, did he have a job? Didn't his coworkers know, you know, what a Nazi he was? And it just doesn't seem like it makes any sense. You know, I know the ADL has a lot of these trolls that they set up, and you know, they infiltrate all these things. Because Gab actually was a half decent way of sharing memes and not being shadow banned and so forth.
Yeah, well, that's definitely why they set this guy up on Gab. I mean, you know, there is no question this was a setup, propaganda operation, and again, go after Gab, push the gun grabber agenda, drive the phony bomb story off the news cycle because nobody was buying that, drive the fact that the Kavanaugh hearings off the news cycle, especially now that it's come on out that Julie Swetnick tried to recant her claims, and Avenatti went ahead and gave them to the Judiciary Committee anyway. There are so many things in the news the Democrats don't want you thinking about, like that migrant horde. And so there's absolutely no question. The timing is not a coincidence.
Yeah, there's another group of migrants that crossed from Guatemala, and they were Guatemalans. They went into Mexico, and one of them got shot by a rubber bullet in the head, and he died. And that didn't really make any of the news cycles, because if that happened at the border at McAllen, Texas, there, you know, Trump would be blamed. Oh, you shot a kid in the head with the rubber bullet, you know.
No question.
So that's kind of interesting. And there's a lot more things. I mean, Israel's just going to take advantage of this. They're, you know, like what's his face, the mayor of Chicago, Rahm Emanuel. Didn't he say, you know, there's something about a crisis? Never let a good crisis go to waste.
Yeah, especially one that you've made yourself.
All right, Mike. Good show. Thank you.
All right. Thanks an awful lot. And we're going to let you go. And, you know, anytime Israel is getting ready to do something that will make it look bad in the eyes of the world, like go in and bomb Gaza, they usually try and stage some kind of a so-called anti-Semitic incident somewhere in the world. And unfortunately, it was in Pittsburgh. I got an email from somebody, and again, I don't want to get pulled off onto this issue, but apparently somebody on Facebook is claiming that the names and ages of the victims of the synagogue shooting can all be found on recent obituaries in Broward County. So, again, we don't know, but I'm convinced that this was staged and set up to satisfy a lot of political agendas. Israel's, the Democrats, so forth and so on. Getting on back to Israel, apparently they have now approved building 20,000 settlement units in the West Bank because everybody is feeling sorry for Israel over the synagogue shooting. And again, all of this is illegal. And they're going to build this block of settlement units in the occupied Palestinian West Bank close to Jerusalem here. Now, Palestinian human rights organizations have now submitted a file to the International Criminal Court prosecutor to investigate and prosecute pillage, appropriation, and destruction of Palestinian natural resources. This is a 500-page file on crimes committed by Israelis, in particular high-level Israeli officials and individuals associated with corporations that are extracting and destroying Palestine's natural resources. So apparently this includes Palestinian water, agricultural land, minerals, mudstone, and oil. Story coming on out of mondoweiss.net. The Israeli government is exploiting the Pittsburgh murders to try and demonize Palestine solidarity. And apparently Ron Dermer, who's the Israeli ambassador to the United States, was being interviewed on MSNBC, and he placed the blame for the attack on white supremacists and the radical left, which is apparently code for the boycott, divestment, and sanctions activists. So, and again, they're out there saying that criticism of Israel is anti-Semitism, and it's not. It's criticism of Israel's government. Okay, over at Facebook, they had a little bit of an outcry where Facebook had taken down a photo of a 7-year-old Yemeni girl that was starving to death, and that accompanied this New York Times report from Yemen. And apparently this starving Yemeni child upset somebody in the Saudi or U.S. government. Facebook took it down, and it triggered a huge public outcry on the still uncensored portions of social media, and Facebook put it back up. Facebook may actually be rather vulnerable right now to a bad public image, because according to this article that came out of 12160.info, nearly half of young users have now deleted the Facebook app from their smartphone in the last year. That is a huge, huge loss. But I can understand why they did it. They value their freedom to say what is on their mind. They don't like censorship. Censorship is something the Nazis did, or the Soviet Union did. It's not supposed to be part of what's going on here in the United States of America. And over in the Koreas, as you know, North and South Korea are making moves that have functionally ended the Korean War, and now they want a formal declaration. And the United States is now saying that North Korea's denuclearization is now a condition before the U.S. will officially end the Korean War. And this is a continuance of this attitude of, you give us everything we want first, and then we will do something nice for you. And that attitude, I think, is a big reason why U.S. foreign policy is in such a shambles. Because all foreign policy negotiations are usually give and take. One side gives a little, then the other side gives a little, then the other side gives a little, then the other side gives a little, and everybody gets to go home happy. But the U.S. government has picked up this bad habit from all of its years of doing business with Israel, because this is Israel's approach to foreign policy. You do everything that we want first, and then we'll talk about maybe doing something nice for you. Meanwhile, down in South Korea, they decided to have a test of their brand new, made in America, Patriot surface-to-air missile, and they fired that thing off, and it exploded just 4 seconds out of the launch tube. Okay. Made in America. So let's talk a little bit about the economic news. The stock market today opened way up. The Dow was up, started almost 300 up, and it ended 230 down. At one point, it was down almost to 400. And so I'm looking at this article that's coming on out here from Investment Watch Blog saying that things are getting pretty bad, and the Federal Reserve may have to pause their program of slowly raising the rates. And it underscores the fact that the soaring stock market was being propped up with low-interest borrowed cash. And it also underscores the fact that Donald Trump is right. The Federal Reserve is a big problem. Because contrary to the name Federal Reserve, it's not really a part of the government. It's a privately owned central bank, and its number one priority is to make money for itself and its owners. And so every policy decision it makes is always about maximizing profitability to the Federal Reserve. And they're not necessarily thinking about what's going to be best for the nation and its people. We got to take a break for commercials, and we'll be right back.
Extendivite, made from garlic, cayenne, bilberry, hawthorn, ginkgo biloba, valerian, and milk thistle, feeds our body with the nutrients we need to keep healthy. Just listen to what Arthur had to say.
I was just calling to tell you what a great product you have. I had used this about 10 years ago after I had congestive heart failure. And it fixed me up and got me going for the last 10 years. Lately, I've been having heart trouble again, so I placed another order because this was the only thing that ever worked. I just wanted to let you know that you have a great product. Thank you very much.
Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Attention RBN listeners. Dr. Ignatius Piazza, founder of Front Sight Firearms Training, and Fate have come together to allow RBN to run another fundraiser till the end of the year. We didn't really expect this opportunity, but thankfully it's here and running as you hear this. We've set a goal of 500 donations by the end of the year, which averages around 6 per day, 7 days a week. When you realize all the folks listening to RBN all hours of the day and night, we think our goal is realistic and extremely critical to keep RBN on the air. If everybody listening will seriously assess their ability with firearms and then take advantage of this opportunity, we feel our goal is very conservative. Please take the time to look over Front Sight's website to get an idea of an amazing facility and the world-class training that's going on there. If this interests you, you likely will have like-minded friends that would like to know. Tell them. If for some reason some listeners are not personally interested, consider sons and daughters, close friends, nieces or nephews, top valued employees, inform club members, share the opportunity with police and fire departments. It's not too early to plan Christmas presents for special people. This fundraiser has come at an extremely critical time for RBN because the dire need for equipment upgrades. We're running on the spare tire currently with no money to fix a flat, and the fuel gauge is bouncing on E. This is one of the most valuable ways you can help RBN financially because you get Commander lifetime membership value that is 50 times your donation and can be passed on forever. How many times during life do you get to leave a legacy? See more details and contact info on our webpage, republicbroadcasting.org, and thank you.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, I mean the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay. Unemployment.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. We're talking about the economic news here, and it was another rough day on the stock markets. Of course, when the price of stocks go down, you start to see stock buybacks by the corporations that have issued the stocks. and basically trying to get them back off the market in the hope that they'll go up in value somewhere down the road. Maybe, maybe not. I think we're definitely heading toward a critical juncture in the economy where people can't buy stuff anymore. And we're going to start seeing more and more of these iconic retailers start to collapse, which in turn will result in the collapse of their supply chains back to the original product providers. It's a domino effect. Now, we have often talked about the advisability of having precious metals as part of your investment portfolio because they'll always hold their value. It's a wealth preserver is the way that you think about it. And just get some silver, get some gold, just stash it away someplace under your own control, because remember, the laws are already in place where if your bank gets into trouble, they are legally allowed to start pillaging through safety deposit boxes and help themselves to whatever's in there to keep themselves going. Because in the United States of America, banks are very, very, very important. You people, you're just fodder. You're fungible. But the banks, they're important. We must always bow down and worship the most holy banks. One metal that is current in play right now is palladium. And it just hit a new all-time high. And the reason it is going up is that palladium is widely used in the automotive industry, and there is significant demand. Even though overall car production is slowing down, there's still demand for it. And much of the palladium comes from Russia. And there is a growing concern that the tensions being fanned up between the U.S. government and the Russian government could result in a supply crunch. Putin could simply say, all right, go get your palladium someplace else. So again, while the demand side of the equation is slowing down, if the supply side slows down even further, there could be some really high prices for those who've stockpiled palladium. Okay, over in Germany, the news is actually kind of good. Germany's Christian Democratic Union basically got pounded in the regional elections held yesterday, and Angela Merkel is going to step down from the leadership of the Christian Democratic Union in December. And she's also announced that she will not seek re-election as Chancellor of Germany. So Merkel is basically heading for the exit. And I think it's a good thing. And we know why the CDU was having all these problems, that they keep losing the regional elections. It's that open borders issue. And Merkel has destroyed her party, her own career, badly damaged Germany's government overall by continuing to ignore the will of the German people and to basically go along with George Soros' New World Order globalist agenda. Alrighty, there has been another crash of a airplane, and apparently this is over in Indonesia. It was a Boeing 737 jet, and unfortunately all 189 on board were killed. And apparently Lion Air's flight JT610 was heading to Pangkal Pinang, which is an island north of the capital, when it lost contact with air control just 13 minutes after takeoff. Now, two things that have emerged is apparently the last radio contact the tower had with the aircraft was to request permission to immediately turn around and return to the airport. And apparently this aircraft had undergone some kind of major repair before it took to the air. And I guess there hadn't been a test flight. So it's a tragedy for all those people. Now then, getting on back to the weather. And we were talking about Typhoon U2, which went across the Marianas and caused a lot of damage. It is now heading toward Isabella and Aurora. It's going to cross over Quirino, Ifugao, Nueva Vizcaya, Banquet, and La Union in the Philippines. Last week they were thinking it was going to spin north and hit Japan, but Japan dodged a bullet on this one. It's now in the Philippines. We're going to take a break for commercials. We will be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
Do you worry a lot? Whether you're a college student, busy professional, parent, or grandparent, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in 1 to 2 weeks. Call 1-800-758-8746 or calmandclever.com.
This is too good to be true, except this time it is real. 100%. No joke. How about a $25,000 membership to Front Sight Firearms Training Facility as a thank you bonus for a one-time donation to RBN of only $500? It is a Commander lifetime membership with no yearly fees or dues. The training is free for the rest of your life with over 50 different classes. Then leave it to your designated beneficiary. You provide the approved firearm, holster, ammo, eye, and ear protection. Many features and bonuses are included, more than you would ever expect or believe. This is the ultimate graduation present, wedding gift, etc., etc. See the details. Go to RBN's webpage and frontsight.com to make it happen. You will hear this offer only on this radio network. Help keep RBN alive. Tell 5.
Do you or someone you know suffer from chest pain, blood pressure, cholesterol, or irregular heartbeat? Are you looking for a more natural solution to overcome these health challenges? You hear the ads all the time. If this stuff's so good, why doesn't my doctor prescribe it? That's easy. Doctors are not trained in natural medicine. Extendivite Heart Tonic does want you to be as healthy as you can be, and it really works. Take Extendivite for 6 months and your doctor will say, I don't know what you're doing, but don't stop. It's working for you. Get the dependability of Extendivite. Just see how you feel in 6 months. A 2-month supply of either capsules or liquid is only $69.95 plus shipping and handling. Call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far 5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. Over in London, specifically at the Ecuadorian embassy, Julian Assange has said that Ecuador is apparently seeking to end his asylum and hand him over to U.S. authorities. And apparently Assange announced this earlier today during a teleconference as part of a trial challenging Ecuador's new conditions for his asylum. And I guess Ecuador just decided, well, forget the conditions, we're just going to end the asylum deal. Now, this is going to be a very tricky case here, because technically Julian Assange himself is not guilty of espionage. He personally did not steal or solicit any classified information, and it was provided to him. And there are laws in this country that cover journalists who are basically leaked classified information. But of course, the U.S. government, which isn't really interested in the law anymore, they want to make an example out of him. They absolutely want to make an example out of him. They want to scare potential leakers, whistleblowers. We used to have laws in this country that protected whistleblowers because it was seen that they served a legitimate function, which was to bring to public awareness bad behavior by corporations and government. But now it's all gone away. I remember after the accidental shootdown of TWA 800, where whistleblower protection for all the Navy units involved in the recovery was suddenly withdrawn. Didn't want those people talking to anybody at all about what they saw at the bottom of the ocean there. Okay, I'm looking at this article that was just put up at whatreallyhappened.com, getting on back to the day of the stock market. Apparently at one point, the Dow was down over 500 points. In fact, down 566 points, which means down from its high of the day, we're looking at a drop of 900 points. So it will be interesting to see what happens tomorrow. So let's talk about human-caused global warming, because the global warming cultists are still out there saying, you've got to pay us a carbon tax. See, it's working so well up there in Canada that they're paying a carbon tax, and, you know, it's all balmy up there and everything. A lot of people are talking about a white Halloween, both here in the United States and in Europe, Great Britain. And apparently we are seeing more and more daily cold records being set. And over in Cornwall, in Great Britain, they've been hit with this freezing cold snap. Temperatures dropped to as low as 3 degrees below 0 centigrade. Remember back on March 20th, 2000, the headline news, snowfalls are now a thing of the past. And all those doomsday predictions they were making about how in just a few years, you know, we'd all be broiling and the oceans would rise and the coast would be flat, and none of it ever happened. And now, of course, you've got the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change is out with their newest report saying it's 12 years, 12 years. 12 years, we're doomed unless you start doing what we tell you right now, which basically involves remaking the world's economic system. And that's been a big part of what's behind the global warming scare, to try and push a socialist agenda on the entire planet. Because after all, socialism has worked so well everywhere it's been tried. Alrighty, now as you know, Monsanto/Bayer lost a major lawsuit brought by a groundskeeper who got non-Hodgkin's lymphoma from exposure to glyphosate and whatever else is inside Roundup weed killer. And the jury basically gave him a huge award. The judge has now walked it back down to something that Monsanto can pay without too much difficulty. But because of that legal precedent, Bayer is now facing over 8,000 lawsuits alleging that its glyphosate Roundup herbicide causes cancer. And I'm going to make a prediction here that Monsanto is going to go to the Congress and ask for a bill to indemnify them from civil lawsuits for their products. the way that the computer software industry got back in the 1970s, the way that the vaccine industry got in the Homeland Security Act, because otherwise Bayer's going to go bankrupt just with all the legal fees. So I think that's likely what's going to happen. We're turning into a fascist economic dictatorship. The corporations get all the protections and all the benefits, and ordinary people, nothing. We're not considered important to the greater scheme of things. Our only value in a fascist society is how much money we can give to the rulers here. Now, over in the European Parliament, they have voted to ban single-use plastics. In other words, any plastic container or bottle that you buy at the store and you use and then you trash, like bottled water or soda or something like that. I think this is actually a really good idea. Now, they're stretching out the transition, but what they want to do is bring back a system like we used to have when I was a kid, where sodas and things like that came in glass bottles, and you would take them back to the store, and the store would give you the deposit on the bottle. And it worked really well, and especially during the summertime, we'd go hiking along Oak Hill Road to find all the bottles that had just been thrown out of car windows, put them in our little wagon, take them to the store, and we'd have money for candy. Where our current recycling programs have broken down is that the recycling is now done at these recycling centers, which are usually placed very inconveniently. And so instead of taking things back to the store where you're going anywhere, it's now an extra trip, extra time, extra gas. And I think that's a big reason why that's not working. So hopefully the Europeans are going to do this a little smarter. But basically, the members of the European Parliament backed a ban on plastic cutlery and plates, cotton buds, straws, drink stirrers, and balloon sticks. And they're calling for a reduction in single-use plastic for food and drink containers like plastic cups. Now, some of these items where there is no current alternative will still have to be reduced by 25% in each country by 2025. And apparently this includes cigarette filters. But I guess there's plastic in cigarette filters. So there's obviously going to be a situation where people are going to be using reusable containers, which for a while, the idea of, I mean, everybody around here was carrying around a reusable water bottle. So we need to get back to that. And if you really are eating away from home, some kind of cutlery, that you use over and over again. And if you go out to any of the catalogs for like survival supplies, you can see these little knife, fork, and spoon that lock together into a single unit. That's a good solution. Or you can get, basically, it's not a Swiss Army knife. I don't think Swiss Army knife makes it, but companies that make large tool folding knives will have one where there's a spoon and a fork on the outside. So you could use that as well here. All right, let's talk about space here. The Hubble telescope is actually coming back to normal science operations. And apparently, NASA was able to get a running restart of the gyroscope that had gone bad, which is what they did is they turned the device off for a second in order to clear any faults that occurred during a restart back on the 6th of October. And that did not work, so it was followed up on the 18th of October with a series of spacecraft maneuvers in an attempt to clear any blockage around the sealed float that contains the spinning wheel. And that worked. They literally fixed the Hubble Space Telescope by jiggling it around. Well, you know, whatever works. You know, because we don't have the means to go up there and fix it anymore now that the space shuttle program is over. Okay, Wednesday, of course, is Halloween, and you should get your Halloween candy ready for the little extortionist to show up. And like everything else in our country, it is being politicized, where people are complaining about costumes that are available for sale at Amazon or Party City or places like that, because they're offensive to this group, they're offensive to that group. And it reached a point where Bill Maher actually came on out and said, look, not everything is racist or cultural appropriation. And he's absolutely right. This is just a time for the kids to have fun and play dress up and not worry about whether they're being politically correct. Now, obviously, in this day and age, most kids are going to go out as their favorite superhero. But if they want to go on out, dressed as a Native American or a cowboy or something, it shouldn't be a big deal here. But you've got the social justice warriors are out there saying there shouldn't be any hula girls or Indian chiefs, no Southern belles, no Daniel Boone, no geishas, no ninjas, no gypsies, mobsters, terrorists. Well, that doesn't leave a whole heck of a lot. And by the way, here in Hawaii, the idea of no hula girls, that's definitely not going to fly. But it's just another indicator. These social justice warriors, they just live to be offended by something. If they can't get up every morning and find something to be offended about, it's like the whole day is ruined. And they have to go into their little safe room and get out the bubble wrap and start popping the little bubbles until they can find something else to be offended about. People need to lighten up. It is not a mark of how good a human being you are to constantly going around being offended by what other people are doing and then try and get them to change their ways to make you happy. We're all supposed to be free people. And let the little kids dress up. And some of these complaints that I've seen out there, they're concerned about sexy Muslim outfits. And one of the other absurdities that is making the rounds now, and Fox News was actually covering it, apparently a lot of municipalities are now setting age limits for trick-or-treaters. That they can only be so old, and if they're any older than that, they're prohibited from trick-or-treating. Now, I think that's utterly ridiculous. I think anybody who goes to the trouble of getting into a costume and wants to walk around the neighborhood, yeah, they should get a treat. And when I was young, living in North Hollywood, before I met Claire, some of those older female trick-or-treaters were rather pleasant on the eyes. And on a more serious note, I'm just going to say right now, I'm not going to be checking the ID of every kid that comes to my door on Wednesday night. If they're there in costume, they get a treat. If they're exceptionally small, they get a glow stick. It's a holiday. We're supposed to be having fun. And it just really is amazing how all of these holidays that we took for granted when I was young, they're all being politicized by the liberals. Oh, you can't do that. You can't do this. You can't, Mrs. Claus is being oppressed by Santa Claus. The Easter rabbit. PETA gets upset about the Easter rabbit. And it just goes on and on and on. Just let it go. Let it go. It really is utterly, utterly ridiculous. All righty, we're coming up here on the end of the show. I'm going to go back and catch some of the other news. And again, story coming out of Investment Watch Blog. Best reason to vote Republican in next week's elections is Hillary Clinton says she wants to be president if the Democrats win big. Boy, there is definitely a good reason to keep Congress in the hands of the GOP. And as I said earlier in the show, if the GOP maintains control of Congress, you have got exactly 2 years to start fixing this election system because it is an international joke. We need a national voter ID law. We need to get away from those electronic voting machines, which nobody knows what's in there. These companies that produce these machines, they regard the software in them as a trade secret, like there's some kind of highly classified process involved in recording the press of a button and adding 1 to a counting register. But no, you can't see what's in there. Now, as a side note, there's a website you should be looking at called blackboxvoting.org. It's run by a lady named Bev Harris. And blackboxvoting.org is famous for having discovered that the GEMS software system, which was used in the Diebold election machines, had no less than 12 different ways in which the results of an election could be changed and leave no trace. Now, Diebold's reputation is built on automated teller machines, which never lose a penny from one end of the country to the other. And when you're using one of those machines, you can hear the little chattering printer inside making a paper trail. So for that same company to make election machines that are wide open to cheating, it had to have been by design. Trump's had almost 2 years to deal with this, and he dropped the ball. And I'm very, very disappointed that he dropped the ball on this. It's in his best interest to clean up this mess. But I don't know what he's thinking. Whether somebody's pressuring him to leave the election system the way it is? Is it really a contest between whether it's the Democratic vote riggers are better than the Republican vote riggers? And just letting ordinary people cast their votes is just going to muck up the system? But he did drop the ball on that. By the way, HBO documentary, Hacking Democracy, which focuses a lot on Bev Harris and blackboxvoting.org, and at the very end of that shows how one of these electronic machines can have the vote results changed just by using a rigged memory card. We're going to take a break for commercials. We'll be back with the last segment of our program after these few words.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds, up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more. Plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AirOutfitting.com.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far $5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here, last segment of our program today. There's been an interesting little revelation about that Indonesian Airlines crash. And it turns out that the founder of Lion Air, whose aircraft it was, Rusdi Kirana, is a politician. And the passenger manifest for that aircraft included not only the Indonesian ambassador to Malaysia, but Indonesian government auditors who've been looking into corruption. So now it looks like there's a new dimension to this. All right, getting on back to a story we were talking about earlier. CNN is out there saying that, yes, they got a new suspicious package. And it looks like there's a copycat bomber out there, or maybe the guy they got wasn't really behind them, because that's what he's telling federal investigators, that he had nothing to do with it. But it does appear to be another one of these made-up bombs, and looks pretty much like the last one. Alrighty, so getting on down here. Story coming on out. Apparently, Trump's 2020 campaign manager, I guess he is seriously thinking about running, is out there saying that censoring of conservatives is ongoing in social media. And I love the name he's got for them, the Palo Alto Mafia. I think that's a good name, and I'm going to start using that one as well, because that's exactly how they're behaving. And again, if the GOP can hang on to Congress next week, they need to do something about this. And again, I'm hoping the Supreme Court is going to rule that, yes, these companies that are acting as conduits for public communications can be held to the First Amendment. So apparently Putin is still trying to play statesman. And as you know, Trump is pulling out of the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. He wants a better deal. The same approach he took with Iran, and we can see how well that worked out. But Russia is preparing answers to this very extensive list of questions that the U.S. has sent them regarding a new nuclear pact, because Russia doesn't want to go back to Cold War arms race. And they basically said, all right, if you don't like the old deal, let's talk a new deal. So we'll see how one-sided it's all going to be. And a lot of people did, in fact, send in that story about this McDonald's in Alabama. And again, except for the independent media, you're really not going to see this on the corporate TV news media. They want blood, they want mass shootings, they want the gun grabber agenda pushed back. But the story is, as the caller said it was, this gentleman was having lunch at a McDonald's, and he had his 2 sons with him, and then a masked man barged in and began shooting. And I'm wondering if that was supposed to be a staged shooting to push the gun grabber agenda, because why would you shoot up a McDonald's? It makes no sense whatsoever. So the father was carrying and basically shot and killed the intruder. All right, there's the music. Time for me to get on out of here. I got to go and do the Jim Goddard Show up there in Vancouver. Please stay tuned for John Stadmiller. I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you. Please take what you learn here, share it with everybody out there. Please tell all your Republican friends to get out there and vote. This is, in fact, the most important midterm election, certainly in my lifetime. And we need to just keep up the momentum. We need to overcome the illegal immigrant vote. We need to overcome the vote fraud that we know is out there. So please donate to Republic Broadcasting. We'll be back tomorrow, and aloha, America.